if you're one of the million-plus Midlanders who visited a theme park last year, then the odds are you went on a roller coaster. For most of us, it's just a quick thrill, a 3-minute rush that makes you wish you hadn't eaten that last beef burger. But for others, it's much, much more.
Tonight's the night we're gonna make it happen.
I personally find it a bit of escapism. Just love the buzz. And it's just forget about everything while I'm on the ride. It's great.
Sometimes if you go on something really good, your knees are shaking when you come off, not through fear or anything, but just through sheer exhilaration.
Once you go up the lift hill, nature takes its course and it's there. One corner, another corner, speed, upside down, it's brilliant. I don't think any of us have ever grown up. We're all children at heart.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it.
All of these people are members of the Roller Coaster Club of Great Britain, and as far as they're concerned, you can never have too much of a good thing.
Well, you have to try it in every seat. You don't just ride one seat, get off, because it's different. Front's different to back and the middle, so you have to ride every seat.
Self-confessed thrill seeker Andy Hine set up the Coaster Club 15 years ago as a way of keeping in touch with a few like-minded friends. Today, that same club boasts nearly 1,500 fanatical members. His part-time hobby is quickly becoming a full-time job.
I've never really worked out how much of my life I've spent riding roller coasters, but I did do it over a year, and I spent the equivalent of 50 days on roller coasters, 50 days with my bum on a seat or off the seat, depending on which type of ride it is. So it does take up an awful lot of my time. I come home from work 5 o'clock and I start work on the club. I'm still working maybe midnight, 1 o'clock, or if there's a trip coming up, even later. So I probably do a 50-60 hour week running the club as well as the day job. Charlotte! Charlotte!
As you might expect, Andy's infectious enthusiasm has rubbed off on other members of his family, particularly his 7-year-old daughter Charlotte, who'll do almost anything to get on a ride.
Let's see, what's it? 54 for Nemesis, isn't it? Hey! You've grown an inch very quickly. You should be all right for Nemesis when we get to Loopathon this year. Let's hope they measure you the same way I have.
Another 7-year-old who's looking forward to his next big ride is Simon Padley from Brackley in Northamptonshire. His father has been coaster crazy for years.
The first time I went to Blackpool, Matthew was probably 2.5. I booked the Chinese, went in, they said it'd be ready in 10 minutes. I said, oh, make it about an hour. So I went down to the big one, had a couple of goes on the big one, come back to the B&B where we were staying, just took the food up. So I said, that was a long time. I said, well, they're very busy, you know, seaside resort.
I wised up after a while. And now I've got my older son is doing the same. They're sneaking off together in cahoots sort of thing.
Come on then, Simon. Let's measure you, see if you're tall enough.
And now it's Simon's turn to ride a big boys coaster. The Padleys are planning a trip to Blackpool to ride the world-famous Grand National. But does little Simon measure up?
Oh, yep. Looks like you'll be tall enough.
Yay!
Yay!
He's just absolutely over the moon about it, and he's now got his little calendar and he's marking off the days, and he's even sort of sitting down and doing his homework, which normally I struggle to get him to do, but I think he's just so excited just about getting there next weekend. So it's going to be very special for him and for you, I should think.
It will be a proud moment
well,
for
as
Dad.
a family, it will.
Yeah,
It'll
we
be...
can all ride together.
Now, while Andy spends virtually every spare minute touring theme parks with the club, he does occasionally get the odd day off. So, where does he go for some quality time with his daughter? Yep, you've guessed it, it's another theme park. But at least with Drayton Manor, he's picked a corker. Situated in 250 acres of parkland on the outskirts of Tamworth, the Parc Ansew has been one of the region's top tourist attractions for over half a century. And last year, they had a record 1.2 million people through the gates.
Now, although we like roller coasters, Charlotte's not quite tall enough for some of the big ones. but she is tall enough for Apocalypse, a 200-foot high freefall machine.
Yeah.
It goes right up there. You want to look up? That's a long way. What do you think? Good? Excellent.
Now, while the stomach-churning Apocalypse and the new Maelstrom ride have certainly increased the adrenaline quota in the park, the #1 ride for the dedicated roller fans is this.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round.
This is the awesome Shockwave, and it's Europe's only stand-up roller coaster.
I couldn't come to Drayton Manor without riding Shockwave, could I? Just what I needed.
Right, we set off at 6 a.m. this morning. I've been up since 3. Obviously didn't want to... Yeah, they got up at 5. Didn't want to be late this morning, obviously. So here we are. The weather's not too kind at the moment, but would you expect at a seaside town this time of year?
Well, this is it. The big moment has arrived. Young Master Padley is about to take his first big roller coaster ride. And as wooden coasters go, they don't come much better than this. This is the legendary Grand National, where 2 coasters race side by side. And even though it's nearly 70 years old, one look at Simon's face tells you all you need to know. This old girl still rocks.
Dad, going again. Again and again.
Again and again.
Yeah.
Also having a day out at the Pleasure Beach are Midlands couple Marcus Gaines and Elaine Story, who, believe it or not, found love right here on the tracks at Blackpool.
I joined single clubs to try and meet someone and had no joy. I didn't think that I would meet anybody at all, but because we've got so much in common, it's just such a nice feeling and it's an easy relationship. You don't have to think anything about it. And every weekend we're doing something different, and 2 weekends out of every month we're probably riding a coaster.
Marcus and Elaine first met when they sat side by side on the Pepsi Max Big One. At over 235 feet tall, it's one of the world's biggest coasters, and don't even think about it if you're in any way scared of heights.
You're just climbing that steep hill, especially if you're sitting at the front.
As you're going up that hill, the anticipation just builds and builds.
Yes.
You just seem to be going up forever.
And then you're just looking out towards the skyline, and then you see the sea, and you just drop, and it's that first drop it twists as well.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
The speeds, you are absolutely flying through there. Go around some of those tight corners, it's
But
ridiculous.
everyone comes off smiling. If you stand at the end of the queue, I don't think you ever see anybody that is not smiling, that looks unhappy. It is just brilliant, really, really good.
Yeah, can't beat it.
On the other side of the park, the Padley family are all aboard the Big Dipper. For the Padleys, it's been quite a morning. 5 rides on the National, followed by 5 on the Dipper. The boys are worn out, but guess who's loving it?
Absolutely fantastic. The adrenaline's kicking in now. The old fingers are shaking. Just can't get enough. Plenty more riding to be done.
Oh, so we can't go up the Blackpool Tower now
No,
then?
not today, no.
Sea Life World?
No, park's
Beach.
open till 10 o'clock, so we've got to stay till the end, haven't we?
One thing that the enthusiasts love about the Pleasure Beach is their large collection of wooden coasters, some of which are over 70 years old. But why does the park keep these old rides alive?
Funnily enough, some of the oldest roller coasters still are some of our most popular. They really are. People love the old wooden roller coasters. They expect the ultra-modern roller coasters made of steel, but up to a point, anyone can build those today. What they can't do is recreate the old feel of the traditional roller coasters that we have at Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
One old wooden ride that might catch you out is the innocent-looking Wild Mouse. But don't be fooled by its size. This is one of the most evil rides ever made. The reason? Well, the mechanism that keeps the car on the track is right at the back, which means every time you go round a bend, you think you're coming off. Add to this the shake, rattle and roll of an old roller coaster, and you've got one hell of a ride.
What was that like then? Oh, incredible. I mean, an old ride and a wooden one.
Just fantastic, just the drop, the first drop, and then you've got bunny hops, and you just get that adrenaline rush as you're going round and it corners. Fantastic.
Great fun.
Yes, loved it to bits.
I haven't told John, I'm a bit of a closet try and win these toys fan. And I try and sneak off every so often. But when I ask for a pocket full of change, I think he guesses. Oh, not lucky today.
After 8 hours in the park, Marcus and Elaine are finishing off their day with a chill-out ride on the GGs. Now, it goes without saying that they love the Pleasure Beach. But what does the Pleasure Beach think of them?
Now, I would say they're dedicated professionals who know a good roller coaster when they see one. Other people might say they're a bit mad. But eccentricity has always been part of life at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. We love them, we welcome them.
It's dusk, and Marcus and Elaine are on their way home. But Sandra knows from experience it's going to be a while before she can prize her boys from the park. But does she ever think this hobby is getting out of hand?
The obsession can be a bit frustrating when you really do have to stay in that park till the last minute and it's cold and you want to just get back to your hotel perhaps, or get in the car and get home and get a nice warm cup of tea, and I've got to stay there, grin and bear it.
It's alright.
We're Coaster Crazy, what are we? Coaster Crazy!
Still to come, Andy's merry band go wild at one of the club's biggest events. Sandra finally beats John at his own game, and the club gets an exclusive ride on one of the world's most extreme coasters.
Okay, so who's ready for a good day? Yeah! That's because we're Coaster Crazy, what are we? Coaster Crazy! Right then.
For the Roller Coaster Club of Great Britain, this is one of the biggest weekends of the year. Over 300 fanatical club members have arrived at Alton Towers a full 2 hours before the park officially opens.
So what's the plan now, Andy?
Everyone's heading down to air now, and we're going to have a few rides on air, just to get the day going, get the blood flowing, and then we're going to go over to Ripsaw, which is normally quite an exciting ride, except today it's going to become a manic ride, because once they get that lot on there, they won't know what to hit them.
Love, peace, and
are you ready? Okay, one more time then, Oggy, Oggy, Oggy! It's not loud enough, let's have another go. Oggy, Oggy, Oggy!
So this is what it's all about. It's called an ERS, an exclusive ride session, and it's where the club descend en masse and take over the whole ride. And while air might not be the most extreme of steel coasters, it does have one unique feature, and that's its wonderful Superman-style riding position. Ride this and you'll believe a man can fly.
It's like one big family. I mean, there's, what, 350 of us here today. And you can ride the ride with different people. And it's just one laugh all day. Not saying that it's not as a couple, but it's just a different experience.
Who wants to get wet? Those members watching, who wants to see them get wet?
Basically, it just my sick sense of humour, you know, lock them in that ride and make them wet.
Well, after that rude awakening, the club members have got the rest of the day to themselves. That is, until it goes dark. But more about that later.
Oh, Andy. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Now, while the club has proved successful in bringing some couples together, it also produces its fair share of roller coaster widows. Sandra Padley could never be described as a roller coaster widow, but she doesn't mind picking up a bargain when she sees one.
Right, I'm just going to try and win, snuck away from the pack, so to speak. So here it goes. Let's see if I'm lucky this week. Yes. Another one for the collection.
At least she's won something at last. All my hard-earned money down the drain. She's got a teddy.
Well, after that brief interlude, the Padley family are back doing what they love most. Yes, it's another coaster. But you know, it's amazing the lengths people go to ride these machines.
But every 2 years, the club used to travel to the States. And I was gutted because I just had this awful fear of flying. And I just wouldn't, you know, cross Atlantic or, you know, the thought of flying for 8 hours in an airplane was, I just couldn't do it. So I decided to have treatment, had hypnotherapy. And since then, it's worked, 100% successful. And since then, I've travelled to Canada, New York, just come back from Texas now. I'm off to Pennsylvania now next June, and I just can't believe how much this club has just changed my life. It's been fantastic.
Now remember the corkscrew. 20 years ago, this was state of the art. Back then, it was the ultimate in white knuckle rides. Today, well, it's just a little bit sad.
Times change, of course. In 1980, this was the latest in thrill rides. You had to come here and ride this ride. It was the one ride that everyone in the country wanted to come and visit. Now, people would walk past this to get to the next thrill ride because as technology advances and as things progress, the rides get so much more daring, so much more exciting, so much more thrilling that unfortunately the poor old corkscrew just gets left behind, and that's why parks have to keep on investing.
One recent investment that's certainly paying off is the intimidating 195-foot-high Oblivion. And while some might criticise it for being a one-trick pony, which is true, it's still one hell of a trick.
This is a one-off. There are no other rides in the world like this. It's the world's first vertical drop roller coaster that goes down underground, deep down into a real tunnel underground. Nothing fake, it's the real thing.
As well as Oblivion, John and his team also designed the Nemesis, which is quite possibly the most intense roller coaster in the world today. So what is the best thing about his job?
The best thing about my job is that. It is fantastic to be involved in creating a ride and then to be able to come back maybe 6 years after that ride first opened and hear the screams and the sounds of thousands upon thousands of people still enjoying that ride as much as the day it first opened.
The day at Alton Towers is finally drawing to a close. The general public is leaving and the rides are shutting up for the day. All the rides, that is, apart from this one. So this is what the club's been waiting for. After 10 hours in the park, they finally get that exclusive ride on one of the most extreme roller coasters ever made.
We're Coaster Crazy, what are we?
It's always best to leave the best ride till last. Get on Nemesis when it's dark, 2 trains running, everyone just wants to have a good time. If you notice, they get off the ride, they can run straight back round. There's no point running though, because there's still going to be a queue. They might sort of just stroll round and just wait their turn, but everyone's on a mission to do as many as they can. They told you 9 o'clock we're getting off, didn't they? 8? 7:30. Now, standing here today looking at all these people, 15 years ago it would have been about 4 of us doing this. So this is what makes it all worthwhile. Hearing all these people cheering and shouting and smiling and having a good time just makes all the hard work, all the hassle, it just makes it all worthwhile. Because at the end of the day we're just having a really good time. It's just what the club's all about. We're Coaster Crazy. What are we?
What's going on?
I had the last ride.
The last ride of the day, yes. Oh wow. Yeah.
I actually had the last ride over my husband.
Last
it was
ride
brilliant.
of the season over me. But it doesn't matter, does it?